never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe is there!
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose? To defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe!
Hey everybody, Mac here, and welcome back to the show. What we have today is G.I. Joe Classified Scarlett. Now, before we went on Bricktober, I had started a few things, like I'd shown you Snake Eyes, I'd shown you Snap Ships, and there is a lot of series that I want to finish off and get out of the way this month leading into Christmas. One of them is G.I. Joe Classified. Of course, we have the Wonder Wednesdays coming up, plus we're going to be taking a look at Snap Ships. Plus we have some reviews on some Lego and Mega Bloks sets, which I know are the main focus of the channel, which is why most of you show up for the show. So we're definitely still going to be going into that. We have some Masters of the Universe, Mega Constructs to take a look at. We have some new Legos to take a look at. We definitely have 123 Sesame Street, which hopefully I'm going to have up by the beginning of next week that we're going to be taking a look at. But for right now, I want to look at the G.I. Joe Classified series because I have a lot of these figures still boxed, and I want to get them open, and I want to get them out of the box, and I want to get my hands on them. So we're going to be taking a look at those through November and December. What we have is Scarlett. The last one that we took a look at was Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes came in his deluxe packaging because I had the pre-order. Now, what we have here is a representation of Classified's basic packaging, and it's not bad. It's not bad. I wouldn't call it fantastic, but it's not bad. It sells the product. What I like is we always get some portrait work of the character down here in the corner, and this is some great artwork. Let's bring that forward so we can take a look at it. This is some really good artwork, and things like this kind of remind me of the old card backs where you would have like the figure on one side and then them on the other. But then we take a look at the side here, and we have some action shots of Scarlett, and I really like that they put her in her karate gi up here at the top, because in the comics she was always shown to be a very competent martial artist. And as a matter of fact, in the comic right now, she is with the Arashikage clan while they try and rescue Snake Eyes. And down here, this is really cool. Down here, she's parachuting in and taking out what looks to be an alley viper. So, might be getting an alley viper in the future as well. On the back is where it kind of falls apart for me. Let me straighten this out a little bit. On the back is where it kind of falls apart for me, because while this is a great piece of artwork on the back, it's not so much serving as a cross-sell so much as it is just a big portrait. Like, these are all definitely figures that we have, everything from Snake Eyes to Cobra Commander. But then we have all of the armor along the bottom here that we know we're probably not going to be getting. We have the Conquest, the Dragonfly, the Shark, the Hawk, the Firebats, oh man, the Night Raven, Fang Helicopters, Battle Pods, Rattlers. Once again, there's the Alley Vipers. I find it interesting that the Alley Vipers are included here with all these other figures that we have. It would be cool if we got the Alley Viper. I like the Alley Vipers. But there's nothing else on it. And what upsets me is that G.I. Joe and Transformers actually started the whole file card on the back of the card back, where it gave you a rundown of the character, told you what their military specialty was, told you what their code name was, their real name, things like that. There's nothing here. And even Marvel Legends, and I think Star Wars, at least, usually have a little bit of a write-up on the character in the upper corner, and then the one that started it has nothing. What they have instead on this side, in addition to what number they are in the series, on this side we have this series of symbols that only recently have they started to tell us what these symbols mean. And quite frankly, I haven't looked at it. I know, obviously, this is something like counterintelligence right here with the file, the manila folder with the circle and line through it. one for martial arts. This probably somehow means she uses a crossbow. Don't really know what that means. But there's no file cards with these characters, and that's disappointing, because that was like one of the big things. Like, I think I still have, even though I don't have my collection, because I said with Snake Eyes something tragic happened, something bad happened, that I lost my entire vintage G.I. Joe collection, but I still have all of those file cards. So it's very disappointing that this doesn't have that. The packaging, as it is, isn't bad. You have this big window up front. You have the opening up top so that light can come down, so that if you want to keep them in the box, you can, and they still remain lit up. But we all know I'm going to be taking Scarlett out, so give me a minute, let me open this up, and we will take a look at G.I. Joe Classified Scarlett. Okay, everyone, here she is. Here's Scarlett out of the packaging, and what we're going to do is what we always do, and put the tape measure to her and see how she measures up. And taking a look at her, we can see that she does reach that 6-inch mark to scale up with the rest of the figures of the line. The rest of the figures being Snake Eyes, the only other one that we've seen so far. Now, let's talk about her appearance, her look. This is a great way to update the classic look. The classic look of Scarlett was very much this tan and brown and leather look, and I love that they've taken the color scheme from the classic Scarlett and been able to mold it and morph it into this more contemporary battle-ready, because quite honestly, the vintage the vintage 3 3/4-inch Scarlett had a little too much cowboy in her. It wasn't very combat ready. I mean, she was even wearing cowboy boots, whereas these boots you can see are definitely more practical for the field. Now, with Snake Eyes, I had mentioned that the weapons that came with the retail version of Snake Eyes, not so much this is the pre-order, but the retail version of Snake Eyes, the weapons that came with him, I said it looked very Fortnite. And you cannot help but think that, even looking at Scarlett right now, with this bright colored armor, the style of armor that she is wearing, that this definitely has a very Fortnite-y look to it. And what I mean by that is, basically, it looks like a video game. And I have recently seen, I didn't even know this was coming out when I did the review of G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes, that I think it was actually last month, a video game came out, G.I. Joe Black Ops or something like that, that is, it's a cel-shaded video game. It's a fairly generic third-person shooter, and I don't know, and all of the characters, for the most part, look like they're action figures, and I don't know if the video game that was coming out influenced the look of the action figures, or if the action figures influenced the way they looked on the video game, but the two definitely go hand in hand, and I think that's why we're seeing a more, to use the phrase again, a more Fortnite look to these two current waves of figures that have come out. Once the video game launches, and I don't know if it's doing very well right now, to be completely honest, but once the video game comes and goes, we'll see if it continues to influence the way that the next wave of figures is when it comes out. I got a little dirt all over this. I got to clean this thing off. But having said that, I do think it works for Scarlett. Scarlett was a very unique figure in the vintage line, and she's a very unique figure with this line as well. And we take a look at her. I like how they put the shuriken, the throwing stars down her gauntlet. That's a nod to the vintage figure as well. So let's take a look at her articulation first. Sorry. Her head will do a full 360, and it is on a ball joint. You can see, and it does very easily pop off, much easier than Snake Eyes did. It goes on fairly easily too. The arms can go out to the sides, but you can see this shoulder piece right here kind of limits her range and what she can do. Do the full 360. Single jointed elbow, which is disappointing because Snake Eyes had a double jointed elbow, and this is a single joint, and I would have liked to have seen more travel in her arm. They could have done it. I don't know why they didn't. Has a bicep swivel, and a wrist swivel, but no pivot. Oh wait, no, there is a pivot. It must have just been sticking when I was playing with it. Okay, so there is a bit of a pivot in there. She has an ab crunch, which if you move it too far back, you can see you get a gap in there. But she can turn at the abs. She also has a waist twist. Her legs are very reminiscent of Snake Eyes. They will go forward that much. Back, not so much. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee. Boot cut. And rock and pivot. And pivot for the ankles. So she has most of the articulation that you would expect from a Hasbro figure. It's just, I don't know why it bothers me so much, but this single jointed elbow just, it bothers me. Now, she doesn't come with many accessories, not like Snake Eyes. She doesn't have a backpack, but she does have this back quiver that if you pop the head off, put her arm up, you can take the quiver off. And much like when you pull Snake Eyes' sash off, you can see that gives Scarlett a completely different look without her quiver on. And you can see it right here. Focus in. You can see it here. So that can come off. But she doesn't have any additional hands. She doesn't have backpacks or anything like that. She just doesn't have a lot like Snake Eyes did. She does have a few accessories, though, which we will take a look at. Let me put her back together. Put her there. And she does have her crossbow. Now, once again, this is a very Fortnite representation of her crossbow. I'm not sure I entirely like this. This line is, G.I. Joe Classified, that is encouraging me to look for third-party accessory packs with just modern weapons to them, because I get what they were trying to do. I'm just not a big fan of this. The other thing I don't like is that this comes apart very easily, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's not all one piece. But when I was playing around with her and I was trying to pose her, this kept popping apart, and it was so frustrating. Like, once you get her into a pose, it'll stay together, but while you're playing with her, while you're trying to pose her, this whole section just wants to keep popping off into two parts. So we're just going to set that down for now. And the only other accessories that she comes with are these three knives. Right here. You have two serrated survival knives, and you have one just stabby knife. Now, at first I thought there was only a place for this one, that it goes right up front here in the front sheath, which is actually kind of cool. And then I was going to be disappointed because I thought there was no place for these two, and Snake Eyes had a place for all of his accessories, until I realized there's these slots up here on top of the quiver. And you can put her two other knives in there. And that looks really cool. I do like that. So she's all geared up. One other thing I want to talk about, and I jumped the gun on this, I forgot to mention, is that I do love her face sculpt. Let's bring this up a little closer, and let's raise this a little more so we can take a look at it. I do love Scarlett's face sculpt. I think this is fantastic. This is an entirely new sculpt. It's not meant to represent the vintage figure. It's not meant to represent the current comic book look of her. This is just something new for her, and I really love it. They even gave her, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Let me see if I can pull it a little closer. They even gave her some freckles, which I thought was a nice touch. I don't think you can see it through the camera, but there are some light paint apps on her face for freckles that I thought looked really good and definitely helped to give her some character. Her hair isn't the, well, bright scarlet that it was in the vintage, nor is it the bright scarlet that it was in the comic. But I do think it's maybe a little bit more of a realistic look to her. The only thing I don't dig is, for some reason, and I don't know if you can see it right here, but in her bangs, definitely back here on her ponytail, she has like blonde highlights in some sections of her hair. And I don't dig that she's wearing the earrings. It's like, Hasbro, you did so well just making her a military figure, but then you had to go give her highlights and an earring and earrings. And I don't know, it may not be a big deal for some, but I think those were unneeded additions to the character, to the figure. Other than that, though, like, I really do like Scarlett. I wanted to do Scarlett second because in almost every incarnation of G.I. Joe, Scarlett and Snake Eyes have been a couple. As a matter of fact, at the end of the first series comic, Snake Eyes proposed to Scarlett, and it just left with them engaged, and you were just to assume that they were going to get married. Now, it is also worth noting that her quiver placement, the arrows are coming down on the wrong side. I really think that since she's holding the crossbow in her right hand, the quiver should have the arrows, or the bolts rather, coming down under her left arm, so that she can just reach back, pluck one, and put it in the bow. But hey, that's just another minor aesthetic nitpick. Scarlett also was one of the first action figures in the 80s that, as a boy, I was like, I need to get that figure. She was part of the first line of action figures for a boy's toy, which was not something that was very common at the time, and you wanted to get her. She was a great figure. She was a great addition to the team, and this new figure really holds up, really carries that legacy forward. The Fortnite look of the figure is just something you have to accept because that is the series right now moving forward. So there we have it. We have G.I. Joe Classified Scarlett. I hope you enjoyed this. I really like this figure. I'm really digging this line. And there are some missteps with the line moving forward with some launch. There was some questionable releases for the first and second wave. The Cobra Island exclusives for Target was a completely other mess that we might talk about at some point, but I really like the line as a whole, and I hope you do too, and I hope you enjoyed this. We will have more videos coming out. Like I said at the beginning of this one, there's a lot to take a look at in the next 2 months or so. So until then, play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe!